Here are 5 common mistakes I see beginner saxophone players make all the time. Hi, I'm a music teacher and this is my life. Welcome back to the channel, everyone, and welcome for those of you who might be new here. In the last few videos, I've gone pretty in depth with the flute because the flute is my primary instrument. But another instrument that I picked up when I was in high school to join the jazz band was the saxophone. And I've seen a lot of beginner saxophonists, as someone who teaches beginner saxophone music lessons privately, I've seen a lot of them make mistakes over the years, and these are the 5 that I've seen pretty frequently. And so I'm going to teach you these here in the hopes that you can avoid making some of these mistakes if you're a beginner. So before we get started, be sure to give this video a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and ring the notification bell so you never miss another video. So the first mistake, I'm actually going to throw in 2 little things because they both go together. The first one is trying to make a sound out of the entire instrument before they try to make a sound out of just the mouthpiece or the mouthpiece and the neck. But before even that, one of the other mistakes I see a lot of people do as beginners is they try to make a sound with a dry reed. I just took this reed out of my reed case and they don't think to soak it first. You need to make sure that, especially if you're playing a wooden reed compared to a plastic reed, that it is wet before you play it because the reed needs to vibrate in order to make a sound. So go ahead and keep it in your mouth for say 5 to 10 minutes to make sure that it's actually wet. The second mistake that I see beginner saxophonists make is they don't assemble the instrument in what I think could be the best order for them. So I'm going to walk you through how I put my saxophone together, and hopefully this will help you. And if you want to do this following along with me, feel free to grab your saxophone. So while I'm soaking my reed, I'm actually putting my saxophone together. The first thing I'm going to do is put my neck strap on. I'm not adjusting the neck strap right now. I'm just making sure that it's comfortable, that I move my hair, anything that might make it a little bit less comfortable before I go ahead and put the instrument together and then attach it. So once I have my neck strap on, I'm actually going to go ahead and grab the neck and not the body, but the mouthpiece. Now I'll explain why I do this very soon, but I'm going to start with the neck and the mouthpiece. When I'm holding on to the neck, I try to make sure that I'm not grabbing really hard on this metal piece because it's going to be really important for when you need the octave key as you're playing the saxophone. So I try to hold it by the little brass section at the very bottom, and then the mouthpiece is going to go straight on. And I twist, and I'm twisting forward. And if you're someone who has a dry cork, you want to make sure that you apply some cork grease on, but don't like slather it on and make it really greasy. You want it to be just enough where the cork grease can absorb into the cork so that it doesn't dry out, but also allows the mouthpiece to be put on a lot easier. And as a general rule of thumb, the place where the reed's going to go should line up pretty well with that little metal piece that's going to be in the very middle of the bottom of the neck. The next thing I do is I take the ligature off and put the reed on. So believe it or not, I did have a beginner saxophone student who took the ligature off, put the reed on, and then put the ligature on backwards or upside down. So make sure that when you put the ligature on, you always want the screws that you twist to go on the right. Now I grab my reed, making sure it's wet, and when I put it on here, I try to leave like a very thin, almost like a hair, literally that's how thin it is, a hair-like line of black on the inside. So my reed fully covers the hole that it needs to cover so that the air can move the reed, but it's not going past the reed and it's not leaving anything uncovered. I'm going to hold that with my left hand. Since my left hand is my non-dominant hand, I use my dominant hand to place the ligature on. Now, there's a chance the reed could move, so I try to hold it sometimes with both hands, and I want to make sure that my ligature, this gold part of my ligature, will line up with this part of the saxophone. There's this like hollow space left, which means I did not undo the screws enough. So I'm just going to loosen them a little bit, and I'm not pushing really hard on the ligature to move it down. I'm just applying a little bit of pressure to try and lower it down. So now you can see that little space where the mouthpiece can go like out and forward, and the ligature lines up well and there's no gapping there, so we're good. When you go to tighten the screws, it's also really important that you don't over tighten them. Again, I've had saxophone students who tighten them so much and then wonder why they're squeaking. It's because their reed cannot actually vibrate from the air moving, and that means it's not going to be able to make a nice sound. So you want to tighten them to the point where you can start to feel some resistance. So I'm not tightening really hard. I'm letting the saxophone sort of tell me, like right here, doesn't have to be perfectly lined up like up and down, but the saxophone's trying to tell me like, hey, that's enough. Then I'm gonna go ahead and do the bottom. As a beginner learner myself, I didn't have any preference over whether I started with the top screw or the bottom screw, but you just sort of wanna make sure that you keep going until you feel that resistance naturally. Now, if you're someone who starts with putting the body on the neck strap, that's fine. For the purpose of this video, I didn't want that weighing me down. But if you're someone who puts the body onto your neck strap before doing all of this, you can do that. What I'm going to do now is put this down very carefully and attach the body to my neck strap so I can show you what will be next. So I have the body of my alto saxophone. It's a beginner level Yamaha saxophone. I'm going to go ahead and unscrew the very top, take a little black stopper out, and I leave that in my case. Then I clip my neck strap to the saxophone. So I'm holding the body of my alto saxophone in my dominant hand, and I'm using my non-dominant hand to place the neck and mouthpiece, which I already walked you through, onto the top. Now, the reason why I do it this way instead of doing neck to body and then mouthpiece is because the number of times that I personally and students of mine have put the neck on the body and then tried to put the mouthpiece on and twisted it on. What they'll do is they'll put the reed on, the ligature on, and then they take the mouthpiece and they try to put it onto the cork. And by the time they've put it on correctly, but they've twisted it so much that the reed has come loose or it's cracked or the ligature moves out of place. So I avoid that altogether. If you put your saxophone together in a different order and it works for you, let me know in the comments, but this is what I have found to work best for me. So now, when I am going to play, I look and I do notice that my mouthpiece is on an angle. At this point, if I make a slight adjustment, that's fine, because I'm not doing a lot of twisting, pushing, or pulling on the mouthpiece. It's just a slight little adjustment, somewhat, and I want it to be the same angle as the angle that I'm going to use when I play. So for me, this is the best order to assemble your saxophone. But again, if you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments what works for you. The next common mistake that I see beginners make is with their neck strap. It's either too loose or too tight. And it's sort of like Goldilocks and the Three Bears. We want a neck strap that is just right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my saxophone in front of me, and I have not made any adjustments to my neck strap since I put it together. And it's clearly too loose for me, so I'm going to go ahead and tighten the neck strap, and I want to adjust it to the point where if the saxophone is close to my body, the mouthpiece is actually already pretty close to my face. And I want to tighten it so that it's comfortably placed the mouthpiece into my mouth. Now, it's not too tight because it doesn't feel like it's too far in, and I'm able to comfortably make a decent sound. Like that. Another common mistake I see with beginner saxophonists, particularly younger players who might be smaller, something like elementary school age or high school, is they'll have bad posture in one of a few ways. Either they rest the round part of the saxophone at the bottom on their chair, which means their neck strap is too loose, because for me to do that, it's way too loose. Or, and this is a personal thing for me, this is an alto saxophone, right? If you've seen a tenor saxophone or a bari saxophone, it's got far more metal, and this part at the bottom goes a lot lower. So tenor saxophonists and bari saxophonists are going to play it on an angle, and they need to adjust their mouthpiece like this. Alto saxophone, personally, does not need to be played like that. And I've played in concert bands and jazz bands, and this is still the way to go, because then you're going to have really nice upright posture. Again, you're not twisting off to the side. Your shoulders aren't leaning, which means you can't take a nice deep breath. Right now, my shoulders are in line with my hips, in line with my knees and my feet. Facing forward, easy to play. So personally, I see people have bad posture. If they try to play the alto off to the side, it doesn't make sense and it's not necessary. So specifically for alto players, you should hopefully be playing it like this. But again, if you have a different opinion, let me know in the comments. And the last common mistake I'm going to talk about is, of course, the reed. I see way too many beginners end up biting their reeds, cracking it, and then they end up getting squeaks and they just have to replace it. So you want to make sure that when you are putting the mouthpiece in your mouth and you're going to play, you want to wrap your bottom lip over your bottom teeth. That way, when you put the mouthpiece in your mouth, your lips are going to cover your teeth. And then you rest your top teeth on the mouthpiece. I say rest your top teeth. Do not start biting really hard. You can chip your teeth. I know some saxophonists, they have like a little black sort of softer pad there to try and help their teeth. But if you can avoid biting down really hard, it's also going to help your bottom lip to not be really sore, but it's also going to save your top two teeth. So bottom lip on the bottom, covering your teeth. Mouthpiece goes in. Rest your teeth on the top. And then you just take that top lip and close it. If you imagine like a drawstring pouch, imagine someone pulled a drawstring and you're just sealing your lip along the top of the mouthpiece. So that way you're not letting any air out of the corners of your mouth. So bottom lip covering teeth, on the reed, making sure the reed is wet first, then teeth on top, lip, sip. And that's how you can get a really good sound without damaging your reed or your teeth. So I hope you found this video helpful. If you're a beginner saxophonist out there, I wish you all the best with your practicing. Have lots of fun. And don't worry, everything takes time, but you'll get it eventually. Let me know in the comments what else you'd like to see, or if you're a more experienced saxophonist than me, because I would say I'm intermediate at best. Let me know in the comments what other tips you would give beginners. And I hope you all found this helpful. Give it a thumbs up if you liked it, subscribe to the channel, ring the notification bell, and give us a follow over on Instagram. I'll see you right back on this channel.